Okay, good morning. So today we will be doing the Python part, rather I would say the visualization part of Python, which we have to learn along with the data literacy chapter. Okay, now what we are trying to do here is that how do I project my data? See, I have learned in my data literacy portion that data is important for the machine learning model. As we learn with age, to make my machine intelligent, he also has to learn. Now he has to learn from what? He has to learn from the data provider. Okay. So the data has to be the core core factor, which is actually governing the AI model's performance. If the data is good, if the data is done well, appropriate, and efficient enough, then your output of the AI model will also be good. Right. Now we have learned in that unit beginning from the beginning that I am first collecting data. So I've learned about which all sources can be there for data collection. Then we have discussed about the various ways of analyzing the data, calculating the average, calculating the mean, mode, median. So the measures of central tendency. Then we have talked about standard deviation and variance also. Then we have also discussed that how do I pre-prep my data? That is, when I am taking the data from CSV files or from some other resources, some data might be missing, some data might be inconsistent or repetitive. So, how do I handle those things? Once all that is done, I also have to, in between, take care of the fact that I need to be judging the data. Isn't it that whether my data is representing the kind of information I want him to do? How exactly it is representing? So, when I'm going to utilize that data in my code, uh, we have to learn that how do I represent those data also. Okay. And for that, we have the data visualization module for Python. And that is what we learned today. Okay. Now, you have learned lists as a structure as of now. So I'm going to base all my programs with the list only. But then later, we also have to learn the data science module or library, which is Pandas library in Python. And then we learn how to create the structures there, data frames and series, and then how to use that in the graph too. Okay. But because that is a longer process, and I want to do something of that part in the class 12 syllabus. So that is why I am taking up the graphs now. You must know how to do the graphs, but with the lists itself. When we do the other structures, we will implement, will by then you'll know the pattern of how to use it. So you're just utilizing the columns from the data frame for the projection. That's it. Okay. So let me start. As such, we all understand what our graphs look like. So we just need a basic understanding of the elements because we are going to use the same names in order to identify the functions. Fine. So basic understanding is that it is meant for the graphical representation, visual representation of information, isn't it? If you give him a huge chunk of data as it is, analyzing or judging the data from there becomes difficult. If it is presented in a graph form, it is definitely quick to judge that, okay, the graph is going up or the graph is going down or it is varying. It's very easy. We see in the cricket matches also when they are displaying the data of the batsman or the bowler or their average for the past 6 months, how they have been performing, or in the same match, how the two teams have been performing, then one look at the graph gives you the immediate, analysis that till this over, this team was doing good, then now they have come down or they are going parallel, whatever. So that judgment becomes very quick and easy. So that's why graphical representations are that important. Now, when you see a chart, and you have been making charts in your class 10th also, and other classes also, so you've learned about that we have a chart title, we have the x-axis and the y-axis values, then we have the legends describing the colors. So the term used is legend. Then we have the x-axis title, y-axis title. This is the like grades is the x-axis title. Y-axis title is the percentage of students. And then we have this as the plot area where we are actually plotting the graph. This is a bar graph example. That is what we are doing. And then we have these labels, which are actually displaying the actual values. So this is a kind of terms which I wanted you all to just keep in mind. You all are definitely aware of it. Okay. Now this is an actual data which we have the A1, A2s and B1, B2s of these 3 years from our class 12 result of English. So that is what we have projected in the graph. Okay. These are the basic components. Now moving to the charts which we are provided with in Python, there are many of them. We are not able to actually do all of them, but once you get an idea, then it will not be difficult for you to implement the others too. Basic syntax difference of the chart will be there. Okay. So we are going to concentrate on the line, bar, histogram, pie, and the rest I will leave for you to explore. They are not there as such in the syllabus. But yes, we can do the ones which are quick to gather, scatter plot or the others. And because when you're going to do your project, when you're going to do your learning for the AI model later, you will have to use these graphs for your file work too. Okay. So basic understanding of column chart, bar chart, pie chart, donut chart, line chart, area chart. We see these things in various news elements nowadays, and हर एक का एक significance है. Like pie chart will only work for out of 100 kind of a situation. And similarly, the donut chart also. So they are talking about where you're trying to show a bifurcation of 100. Overall पे कितना 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 pie or value. है ना? These are different presentations. This is very helpful when you have to see a trend or something like that. Scatter lets you see the concentration. Like if I want to see if I see the maps nowadays, right? If I see the maps nowadays, what happens is, this thing about the pollution. So there, if you want to see in India, which are the areas where the stubble burning is happening, concentration कहाँ पे है? So वहाँ पे वो dot करके they represent the part with those dots, and then you can see the concentration. की concentration of dots कहाँ पे है? It's more in the area of Delhi or the surrounding area, or in UP or in Haryana or somewhere else, and you don't have that kind of a thing shown in the southern part of India or the eastern part of India at all. So that kind of a thing helps you understand the concentration of that. कहाँ पे concentration ज़्यादा है? We have more of that problem happening there. Okay. So different charts have different significance. Depending upon your need, you'll be presenting or using them. You may use more than one chart for your project, or you may not use it. Line charts are like this. You have the pointers like x-axis पे 1 and 43 in the y-axis. So you're plotting it here. Then at 2, what is the point? At 3, what is the point? After plotting those x and y positions, you're going to join them. And when you join that, it gives you the line. Okay, so these are the markers. ये जो circles हैं, they are basically my markers which tell you कि कौन सा exact point हमने mark किया है, right? And this is best when you talk about that I want to show a relationship between two sets, like day and degree temperatures का जो दिखा रहे हैं कि every day how the temperatures are varying, that kind of a thing, or stock market where you have to show a kind of relationship between the time and the fog intensity, or company name and the trend of share cost happening, changing, that kind of a thing. Generally, when we have to do, we go for the line charts. The bar charts, again, the length is the proportionately we can understand the variation. Higher length means it is more value, lower length means it is lesser value. Okay. So height and height का ही mainly होता है इसके अंदर. The proportionate value is represented in the bars. Okay. Histogram, we have this particular category of chart which talks about frequency. Okay. So when you do statistics, you learn about this. You all are doing economics, you understand this better. That in the case of histogram, we are trying to first represent the calculate the frequency values. So these are the class intervals. In that we get the frequency value, and that is represented in the histogram. They're very similar to the bar chart only, but you'll find that they don't have gaps. And the x-axis generally shows the class interval. Single value nahi hai, that's a range. Okay. So that kind of a thing, basically frequency chart ही बोला जाता है histogram को. Okay. So that is why it is represented like this, using a special category of chart. Okay. Now I'm starting with these three as of now. Once you understand them pretty well, then utilizing the concept for other graphs is also not that difficult. Right. Now, how do we start with the charts in Python? That's the first question. We have various libraries or various functions in Python. वो library को पहले install करना पड़ता है. ठीक है, आपने Python पहले install करा and certain inbuilt libraries are automatically coming in with you. Like we discussed about the statistics module, isn't it? Where we were using the mean function and method and mode function, median function. तो वो उसके लिए we just have to import that into our program and it is done. But for a few others, rather many of them, you will find that you have to install that module also. I don't call it a module, actually, we call it a package or a library there. Okay, so for the graphs, my library is the matplotlib. It is not math, it is matplotlib. Matplotlib. And within matplotlib also we have multiple modules, but major one which we use is, which supports a variety of graphs and plots, that is pyplot. इसको हम लोग जब use करेंगे, import करेंगे, उस time पे we have to mention it. Okay. Installation process is at the command prompt we do it. I'll send you the process if you're installing it with the ideally thing. Or else if you're working on some Google Colab or other online platforms, there generally few of these libraries are already installed. Like Matplotlib and Pandas and NumPy, these are few which are already installed. You don't have to install these. बहुत कोई specific हो, उसके लिए फिर install करना पड़ता है. But these are commonly used libraries of Python. That is why they are already installed. Okay. So I'll send you the video where you have to be very careful about how to do it, because path अगर गलत हो गया तो वो फिर कोड नहीं चलता. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए if you are using ideally, then the installation process has to be properly done. And the command for the installation is pip. Pip is the command which is actually used for installation of various packages in Python. So pip install matplotlib. This is how we mention it in the command prompt. And the installation takes a little bit of time, step by step. It is showing you on the screen. And the installation is done. Okay. Now, once it is done, we are going to come to our Python code and we're going to start writing the thing. And when we do that, okay, before we start doing it, we have to discuss about certain functions which are required for the graphs to be presented. Okay, now what are those? That we discuss first before we actually start with the example. Okay. So pyplot is the one which I'm saying that the pyplot module has to be installed. Okay. I mean, has to be invoked before we start the work. Now, in this case, when we are talking about the various functions, we find that first and the foremost is my plot. Okay. These are for my customization. I want the grid. So I write it like this. I want the title. I write it like this. I want the X label, Y label, legend. I want to save the graph, or I want to show. This is important because without this, the graph will not show anyway. So these are the additional functions. Okay. Okay. Now let me just start with one, then you will get the idea of what I'm talking about. Let me just start with the one which I am wanting to show you. Just a second. Just a sec. Let me keep that on for the content also, and I'll take you directly to the ideally itself. And then we will do. Okay. So first thing first, See, I just tested it before I said, before I started, I said I want to check for pandas and I want to check for these matplotlib. So it's there on this laptop, so I hope it works. Now, why am I talking about this pandas? So, in our syllabus, we have multiple libraries to be done till class 12th, based on NLP, based on computer vision, based on data science. So, there, data science talks about the functions where we are going to use the pandas library. Okay. And for graphs, we are going to use this matplotlib library. And for array work, mathematical calculations, we are going to use NumPy library. So this way we are going to import and use them. Okay. After installation, all these needs to be installed. Fine. Uh, let's start with one. We are going to keep the pandas also open because both has to be installed before we start working on the graphs. Now, when we import the data, we write import. जैसे आप लोग games खेलते हो, so you have some extra, libraries to be installed. I don't call them libraries with games, bro. We call, what do we call them? Extra what? I'm not getting the name now. Certain things. I mean, at times we are supposed to install certain extra features before we start working on that particular application, right? So here, that is what is happening. We have installed the extra libraries of Python, and now to use it, I'm going to write it import and the name of the library. Okay. When I do that, resource packs, correct. Thank you, Bhuvan. So the resource packs basically, this is also a resource only, no? So gaming ke liye bhi you use this kind of a thing. Similarly here also. Now, you may keep it like this itself, or you may add an alias name to it because it seems P is very, pandas is a big term. Like here we do matplotlib.pyplot, it's a big term. Instead of using this every time to call the function, I'm going to use this alias name, PLT. This name is just a name. So you can give any name, your name, my name, any name can be there, but as small as possible. It could be a single letter, so it's easier for me to call the functions. I write less, right? So general convention में we use PD for pandas and we use matplotlib के लिए PLT. Just as a convention, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि आप कुछ और नहीं use कर सकते हो. You can definitely use anything of your choice. With the same rule that no dot is allowed, no space is allowed, numbers के साथ start नहीं हो सकता. Normal rules of variable naming will be followed. Otherwise, I can give any name, no problem. Okay. Now I am trying to take a very simple data, which I was explaining in my fifth subject class also. That let's talk about the rainfall in various months of Delhi in centimeters. So I'm taking one list as months. Let that be M. Okay. I'm creating this month and I'm taking it from April maybe. You can take all 12 months, but I'm just taking it for a few. June, of course, it's case sensitive. The way you give it, the way only it will be displayed. August, September. Okay. And another variable, I have the values of rainfall in centimeters. So I'm saying in April, it was just 30 centimeters. May, it became 50. By the time it was June, it was 100. By the time July, it was 200. By the time August, it was 350 average for the month. And by the time it was September, it reduced to 65. This is how a variation in the graph. I've taken it like that. Okay, two data values. Now, this data value, you know how to accept data in a list. You know how to work with the list very well. So, just a second, beta. Okay, fine. Okay. So you may accept the data from the user also. That is, you all are aware, append karte jao ek list mein data. And user say mango, how many elements to be entered. That normal process of loop can be used here to accept the data. I'm not doing that because I'm assuming you're aware of it. Let's concentrate on the plotting. Now my data is ready. The basic thing which I need, the compulsory thing which I need is the plot function. By default, for the line graph, we use plot function. So PLT, I'll be using this alias name for that, dot plot, and in the bracket, obviously I have to give him the X and the Y value. At least this much is minimum, right? So X value is in M, my month names, and the average rainfall values is in T. Okay. There are a lot of variations we can do, but as of now, I'm just giving the basic thing. You plotted and you said, please show the graph. If you do not do this, the graph is not shown to you. And you'll feel that what happened, I'm not getting the output. But basically, I've not used plt.show. There's no print command here because this graph comes as a separate window. And you can save that file. A separate file also can be created for this, and it can be saved as a normal JPEG file. Then you can use it in your PPTs, presentations to show it to your bosses. So it works like that. So there's no print command basically. It is a separate thing which is working. Let's save this much and use it and see how it actually works. The basic one. Plot one. And I save the data. And I execute. Let's see how it works out. Then we'll add the various variations. Okay. So April, then May, then June, then July, then August is the peak, and then September it falls down. Okay. X-axis values have been automatically taken. Y-axis values का जो limit है set उसने मेरे values के हिसाब से किया. No title, no legend, no label, X label, Y label, nothing is there. Just the basic thing is there. Okay. And you can see it is coming as a figure, a separate figure. We learn how to save that also. There's an option here too, but through the code also I may do that. If I do it through here, automatically PNG file का extension उठा रहा है. I'm saying this is my first plot. And of course, it takes me to a default location जो भी इसका setup है. But let me do it in the downloads folder itself. So you can save the file too. Yes, Bhuman, we can do that, but the problem is your PLT will get updated. If you're doing it in a choice kind of a thing, you may call the plot function, your show function as an attribute later. That can be done. The setting of the program has to be like that. Yes, it can be done, no problem. Is it fine? So this is how it looks like when you are first displaying your graph simply in Python. Now let's talk about the variations which I may add. I'm directly showing you here itself. Okay, now first and the foremost basic thing I would like to have is my title. Okay, everything has to be done. The variations or the extra things what you need to do, that has to be done before show, not after show. Okay, because show mein wo display ho gaya, so after that doing it doesn't help me, right? So I first talk about the title of the graph. So this is my average rainfall in Delhi. Average rainfall in Delhi 2025-26. That's the overall title. Then we talk about the X-axis title, that is X label, and it is BEL as per American English, not LABLE as per British English. So these were months. PLG.Y label, that is rainfall, and in centimeters, that also we can mention here. ठीक है, so तीनों टाइटल हो गए. What else? Let's see this much and then I'll tell you the rest of the things also. For that, the variations are more. So at least let's have this much. You can see the three things are done. Just a second. Can you see that? Right? Is it fine? Any doubt in this part? Nothing we did, no? We are giving this x and y value in the plot function. The two arguments in the plot function is telling him that only, that the first argument is your x-axis and the second argument is your y-axis. This one. ये वाला जो चीज है. The plot function is actually the function which is plotting the graph. Rest are title का अलग graph, your title का अलग statement है, x table का अलग है ना? So plot function में the two inputs which is arbitrary I have to give is the x-axis and the y-axis. So x-axis, jo whatever you give in the first as the first argument, that works as your x-axis. Whatever you give in the second argument, that works as your y-axis. Okay. So x-axis में मैंने बोला m का data, m is my months, and y-axis में मैंने बोला t का data, that is my average rainfall value. Is it fine now? Okay, good. So we have done this much. Now let us see certain other formatting. ये तो मेरा basic graph बन गया. This much so is fine. In the PPT also there are certain examples of other category. You can check out that. Okay. Now let's do something else too. Like see this example. Here what we are doing is we are talking about two line graphs. Now line graph is very interesting because I can have multiple plots in the same graph. Like in this graph, what we are showing is, you can see this legend. It says the blue line is showing students participating in art competition as per class 4, class 5, class 6, like that. And students participating in computer competition is the orange line, right? As per every class, right? So I may have multiple plots done in the same graph. Now, how do I do that again? See this example here. In the x-axis, the x variable, okay? For that only I take it as x-axis in this particular example. In the x variable, I have taken the class numbers 4, 5, 6, 7. In the y-axis, I'm taking in the y variable, I'm taking the count of bachas participating in the art competition. And in the z variable, I'm taking the count of bachas participating in the computer competition. ठीक है? Now एक plot से मैंने बोला in the same graph, PLT अभी same चीज को रेफर कर रहा है. So PLT plot से मैंने बोला x y को plot करो. X is my class and Y is the art competition participants. उसको एक label दे दो because this is the label which will print in my legend. These two are my legend which describes both the colors of the moment. It becomes two things or more than one thing. You have to give a description of the various colors. So that comes with the legend. Okay. But legend को input चाहिए. क्या दिखाना है legend में? He knows color has to be described. So he picks up the colors and what data you want to show in the legend, that is shown in the plot itself, in the with the help of the label. Whatever label you give it, A, B, C, D, whatever you write, you can see it is in quotes. So whatever you write, that is shown in the legend. Similarly, in the next line, I'm saying that same graph में plot करो, keeping the x-axis same, because x का value same ही रखना है मुझे, the z values. These values. And these are my computer competition participants. Okay. And then you ask him to do plt.legend. So automatically it will be picked up. Because in my previous graph, which I showed you, there was no legend. I did not ask him to show the legend. Now, if I ask him to show the legend, what will it show? Because मैंने तो कोई label दिया नहीं है. Let's see that. Without label, how it works, it will pick up. But let's see what it does. It's not picking up also, that's sad. Because there's no data given. Oh yeah, here it is. That's what I said. This is, you can see a small box here at the right corner. Hai na? So there is something he's saying, okay, this is the place I'll put my legend. But then what do I put in my legend? He's saying also no artist with labels found to be put in the legend. Isn't it? So he's expecting you to write something in the label and then only he'll put it. So you may put it in this label also. And there's one more way we can do it. One is this label is equal to, you may say Delhi, like I'm doing it for Delhi and Haryana, suppose. Okay. So ये वाला मेरा दिल्ली का है. Let's see now. हम हरियाणा वाला डेटा भी डाल देंगे इसके अंदर. Can you see now? Now, color by default is blue. I've not given any color specification. If you want to give the color specification also, that also in the plot statement itself. So plot में basic जो हमें देना है x and y का data. Other than that, I'll give label if I want to. Then I can give a color, and you have color codes directly which can be given here. So I say in quotes, I am saying green. You don't have to memorize all the color codes. They are very simple as such. Few you may just keep it in mind. K for black, G for green, Y for yellow, M for magenta, P for pink. Right, like that. And rest can be picked up from the net whenever you are using, if you want to give something very different. A cyan is also there, that's C I think. So this way you can give the color. By default वो blue पहले फिर orange. अगर second plot दोगे तो वो orange उठाएगा. It has its own default colors actually. Otherwise you may change it. The color has been changed. Okay, this is how you can give. Okay. What else I can do? I can have another way of putting the legend. I may put a different. वहां पे मैंने कुछ और डाला. अच्छा, let me have the two plots done. I am doing it for Haryana now. So let me take it as H. What I was talking about. So here I am saying Haryana had very less rainfall this time. So 10, 30, 50. It again reduced in July to maybe 35. Then it went up to 80. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've got 6 months. One more is 120. Okay. This also I want to plot. Again, plt dot plot. Now क्या लेना है x axis में again months. So m data. And what in the y axis? In now h. Okay. You have to keep the x same. Otherwise गड़बड़ हो जाएगा plotting में. अब गड़बड़, you have to try out what गड़बड़ it does in showing. I have not tried it out, or neither I'm showing it to you here. But you can do that. Let me take magenta. And I'm saying this label is Haryana or any other city. So I really can't give the tally as Delhi because it is 2 states. I may have multiple states on the same graph. Let's try this out. Okay, so for pink, magenta kind of a color is for Haryana, and the Delhi one is green. Okay, few more variations. We'll quickly check this out here. You can see some lines here, gray lines. Okay, these are called as grid lines. By default, they are not there. If you want to put it, you write it as plt.grid and in the brackets true. Okay, if you want it. Otherwise, not required. Some color abbreviations I've given you. You may use them. You may take the hexadecimal code also. They are there in the net. We don't really memorize them. You can use it whenever you need. This is how we put it. That's there in the next example. Now comes a few more things with the plot, which I can do is I can change the style of the line. I can change the width of the line. I can change the color with this color is equal to thing also. I can put the plotting points with markers, and I can increase the marker size too to make it look very evident. Now, how do they actually, these are the various things we can do. X label, Y label, we can give the font size and the font color. Legend ka location I can change. I may add new legend data also. Like students participating in art competition की जगह मैंने बोला जब display करो just write art and comp. That also can be done. New names can be given. Otherwise, you have seen that the bracket for my PLT legend was black. Now here I've tried to include the majority of them, which I want to cover up in these 40 minutes. You can see here, line style dashes. So my line style has become dashes. Width, I've given 10. The thickness of the line has increased. Okay. Dotted lines will look like this. Here the thickness was not changed. So this is the default thickness. Okay. Color and font size have been changed for the labels, X label and Y label. These are all beautification. You may do, you may not do. But generally, to make it look better, we do it. Line style is again an argument for the plot function only. Line width is also an argument in the plot function itself. Okay. There's one more thing I want to show, though I've used data frames here, which you have not done. But just the thing which I wanted to show here, which you are using with the plot, is the marker. The exact points of plotting can be shown with another symbol and the size can be increased. So it is 20 and then this point is one plot. 22 maybe with the another one. 24 maybe with the another one. Okay, so the exact plots can be shown because if not, then it is a problem. Right? It's the, the class is about to finish. We'll do the bar graphs also in the next one. But that is how my line